This is the story of the medal he never got to wear. The United States Army had a ceremony to give out medals for good behavior. One of the soldiers was supposed to get the Silver Star for his bravery in combat. But this soldier would never get to put the medal on his chest, because just one day before the ceremony, he died in his final mission. His family was incredibly proud of him, and when they accepted the Silver Star on his behalf, they made sure that he would never be forgotten. In 2007, the US military was at war in Afghanistan. It was a dangerous assignment, and many soldiers lost their lives there. The ones who came home often suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, but they were still considered lucky. Among them was Staff Sergeant Robert Miller. On August 3, 2007, Robert's platoon was assigned a mission that involved chasing down Taliban insurgents. While they were carrying out their orders, the Americans were attacked. The enemy was hiding in caves and kept shooting at them. They killed 2 our soldiers and wounded several others, including Robert. When they finally managed to find the attacker's cave, Robert bravely charged forward and single-handedly wiped out the entire enemy squad. Thanks to him, the rest of the platoon returned safely to bars. Robert was a true hero, and his commanders decided to award him the Silver Star. This is given to those who have performed an act of heroism in combat. It is one of the highest military honors in the US, but Robert would not live to see it pinned to his chest. Just one day after his heroic deed, the 38-year-old soldier died during another mission. His helicopter was shot down by a rocket-propelled grenade while providing covering fire to troops on the ground. All 4 soldiers on board were killed. Robert's remains were brought back to the US, and his family gathered together for a funeral full of military honors. His wife, Wendy, stood by his coffin with their 2 children. Their faces were wet with tears, but they held it together for the sake of the other soldiers who had come to pay their respects to their commander. After the ceremony, the widow and her 2 kids returned to civilian life. Meanwhile, Robert's parents began planning a separate ceremony to present their son with the Silver Star. They wanted to make him proud and continue his legacy. Robert's mother, Caroline, promised to keep his memory alive. She said, "I will carry on his legacy as long as I live." Caroline wore the medal around her neck during every public event. She also asked the governor to declare April as Robert Miller Day, a state holiday in his name, and she won. Since then, every April, all residents of New York have paid tribute to the fallen soldier, and if that wasn't enough, the entire platoon that Robert commanded spoke at a conference about his deeds. They recalled how he saved their lives and called him the most courageous man they knew. Among them was First Sergeant David Bell. He said that when he heard about the award, he was very happy for Robert, although he admitted that no medal could adequately assess Robert's merits. Captain Troy Collins agreed with these words. He said that there were no worthy words to describe Robert. It's worth noting that despite the danger of their profession, the soldier was not going to give up his service. His comrades recalled how he always joked that even if he received the Medal of Honor, the highest award for military personnel, he would still go on missions. He simply loved being a soldier too much. But even though Robert didn't live to receive his Silver Star, it didn't prevent him from entering the history books. The soldier's name was engraved on the DC War Memorial, which lists all the servicemen who gave their lives during the war in Afghanistan. It was quite fitting since Robert had dreamed of getting his name carved on such monuments. However, the greatest tribute to the fallen soldier was filmed by one of the soldiers. Right after the ceremony, someone posted a video of it online. It instantly went viral. People from all over the world watched it and sent condolences to the family. Wendy, the soldier's widow, thanked everyone for their kind words. She said that the family was grateful for the support and love they had received. Some time later, the government officials invited the family to the Pentagon. There they handed over to them a box with the Silver Star. Although the award was given posthumously, it was as if it were intended specifically for Robert. He deserved it more than anyone else. At that moment, Wendy felt like her husband was standing next to her. She said, "I looked at the medal and thought he earned every second of this." As for Robert's mother, she placed the medal on his grave. It may sound strange, but according to her, this was the only appropriate place for it. The woman continued to honor her son's memory. After his death, she set up a foundation called the Purple Heart Homes, which helped seriously wounded soldiers adapt to civilian life, as you might have guessed. The award ceremony took place on April Fool's Day, so some people believe that the soldier's death was no accident. In fact, Robert himself predicted that he would die on April. He told his wife that if he didn't come back from the next mission, She should take the money from his life insurance policy and buy the kids a new house. What's even stranger is that he was right. When the soldier's body was brought home, Wendy discovered that April was his birthday. So he really did die on his last mission, but not because he wanted to. Robert was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. So what's the moral of this story? Life is unpredictable and it can turn upside down in an instant. Appreciate the time you spend with your loved ones while you can. Every day is a gift, so don't waste it. This is the story of the man who died one day before getting a medal, but was never given the opportunity to wear it. Staff Sergeant John Barcelone was scheduled to receive the Silver Star for his bravery in combat. It's an award given to service members who distinguish themselves by gallantry in action against an enemy of the United States. But he was killed in action the day before the ceremony. Sergeant Major Barcelone was born in 1922 in New Jersey. His father worked as a police officer in Carteret, where the family lived, and from a young age, John knew he wanted to follow in his footsteps. At 17, he joined the New Jersey Army National Guard and then attended basic training at Fort Dix. From there, he went on to serve with the 18th Infantry Regiment, 1st Battalion. Then in 1942, while still only 20 years old, he deployed overseas to the Pacific Theater of World War II, where he fought with the 1st Marine Division. One of his fellow Marines later recalled that he had been so green when he first got to the division that he didn't even know which way to button his overseas cap. But he was eager to learn and picked up everything quickly. By late 1944, Staff Sergeant Barcelone was serving as a platoon sergeant with Fox Company, 2nd Battalion, 6th Marines. On November, his unit was dispatched to the Admiralty Islands in what would become known as the Battle of Palaleo. Their orders were to capture and hold the island, but it was a brutal fight against the Japanese who had fortified the island. One of the Marines in his platoon was Private First Class Harold Schultz. He later recalled seeing what Barcelone could do. I saw him come back after being wounded. I saw him take a machine gun and set up and start firing. And I saw him charge across an open area with a bar under fairly heavy fire to help another machine gunner. But despite their best efforts, supplies began to dwindle and casualties mounted. So on November 17, 1944, word came that they would soon be relieved. The next morning, elements of the 1st Marine Division launched a major attack against the Japanese positions. But by this point, the Japanese were nearly out of ammunition and starving. They made one last stand, charging across the beach in a banzai charge. And although most of them were cut down by American rifles and machine guns, some did manage to get close. It was then that Staff Sergeant Barcelone charged into the fray, armed with only his trusty M1 Garand rifle. He moved like a man possessed, firing at the Japanese soldiers and bayoneting those who managed to get past the Marines' lines of defense. According to one account, he single-handedly wiped out 20 Japanese soldiers, but shortly after the battle ended, Staff Sergeant Boland was hit by a stray bullet. It tore through his shoulder, shattering his arm. His men carried him back to the medics, but the bullet had severed his brachial artery, and he bled to death before the medics could stop the bleeding. He was killed just 2 days before he was supposed to receive the Silver Star. Instead, on November 20, 1944, he was given a rifle salute as his body was placed aboard a transport ship bound for home. On December 2, 1944, his Silver Star arrived at his family home in New Jersey, along with a letter of condolence from President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It read, "In the name of the President of the United States of America, I present this decoration to Mrs. Catherine Barcelone, mother of John Barcelone, who, in my opinion, distinguished himself by conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life, above and beyond the call of duty." The medal was pinned to a white satin pillow and then handed to his mother. At the time, she was wearing a dress with a low neck, and no, she wasn't going out dancing that night. She was too distraught to eat or sleep. Her son, whom she called Johnny, had been dead for a month. The citation for the Silver Star arrived a full 3 months after her son was killed. Still, she wore the medal draped around her neck under her dress at every public event, until it was time to lay her son to rest. She then transferred the medal to a purple velvet ribbon and tied it around her arm, leaving the citation tucked into the folds of the ribbon. When she stood up to speak at her son's funeral, she said, "My son gave his life so that other mothers might not have to bury their sons. I am the proudest mother in America." After the funeral, she continued to wear the medal every day until her death in 1993. In 2005, the governor of New Jersey declared March 28 John Barcelone Day, a state holiday in New Jersey. That same year, The entire platoon that he led at Peleliu gathered together for the first time since the war. Every single one of them spoke of Barcelona's heroism, courage, and leadership. Private First Class Harold Schultz said, "He was the greatest guy that I ever met. There's no other way to put it." John Barcelone was a Marine's Marine. Another Marine, Joseph Alianza, later wrote that in all his years of public service, he never met anyone who had a bad word to say about Barcelona. In 2014, more than 70 years after his death, his name was engraved in the DC War Memorial. But perhaps the most fitting tribute came from the ceremony where his medal was presented to his family. The official photographer captured images of the event, but the official film crew recorded video footage as well. Years later, someone uploaded that video to YouTube where it went viral, racking up over 1 million views. It showed the solemnity of the moment, the grief-stricken mother, the heroic tale of a young man who gave his life for his country. It served as a reminder that behind every medal is a person, a real living person with a face and a name. After watching this video, tell us in the comments which war hero inspires you the most. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. We publish new videos every week about amazing people from history, so subscribe if you don't want to miss any of them.